Is your small business growing? That's the question we address right here on the Grow Your Biz Show. It's where we interview strategic entrepreneurs who inform and inspire you on your solopreneur or small company journey. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Grow Your Biz Show. Hello and welcome to episode 120 of the Grow Your Biz Show. My name is Paul Madsen, and I am the host of the program. Also, I'm the founder of growmedia.com. Brent, growmedia.com, helps small and medium businesses to tell their stories through content creation. That's what we do. This is Brent Pohlman. He's the CEO of Midwest Laboratories. Brent, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Paul, for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. It's we've been making this happen for a while, and here we are. So that's great. Hey, Brent, I'm going to jump right in. Tell me, what business is Midwest Laboratories in?
Paul, I would say that we are in the people business. We look at people from a number of different views, but basically there are producers, there are growers, and there are municipalities. That kind of boils it down to those three. And basically we use the most innovative science techniques to service our clients' needs in those areas. Okay,
you help them out with their, if you talk about municipalities, I imagine there's protection involved, help protect them, and it sounds like for-profit entities also, so you help them with profitability, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the whole business of the science that we, and the results that we give to our
Lots of
clients.
analysis, lots of science behind it. Well, tell me, give me an example of what a producer, a food producer would be. I mean, not necessarily by name, but what am I talking about? A farmer? What am I talking about here?
So when I think of food producers, I think of where your food is made and produced. And food safety is, again, a very hot topic these days. So they may look at the production lines from a bacterial standpoint and see how they can protect that line and make sure that the food is produced in such a way that it is safe for you and me. And that's really top of mind is food safety.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just have to look at the headlines, right? these days. I mean, there's E. coli and lettuce, or there's this or that, and some meat products or whatever. And your business helps people with protection on those avenues. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And it could be ingredients, it could be chemicals, as we're finding more and learning more about what's in our food. So there's a lot there. Absolutely.
Wow, yeah. And how about a municipality? I mean, give me an example of what a municipality would use your company's services for.
Right. So a lot of people don't know that. We do a lot of water testing and wastewater testing. Wow. And again, that's all in protection and safety for you and me, the general public.
Wow.
So a lot of wells, a lot of public drinking facilities, all that.
All
again,
sorts of testing,
needs to be
parts per million or whatever.
Right,
that
for
kind
protection.
Of thing. Well, you say that, it reminds me of an interview I did with none other than Erin Brockovich. She came to Omaha as part of a conference put on by the Gooseman Law Firm, who was also on the show, and she was talking a lot about all that in detail during her keynote speech. It just gave me a little bit of a background about, the whole, she's involved with the Flint, Michigan thing now, and how important, what's more important than water safety, and how can your company help people with that, or municipalities?
Right. So again, they're looking at total coliform, they're looking at E. coli, they may be looking at specific minerals like mercury or heavy metals that may be dangerous to you and me. So through that, again, our water is our most sacred thing that we use every day.
Right.
We have to have it, and it has to be safe all the time.
Well, yeah, and there's no choice. And so I imagine, and it seems like government's getting more involved with that all the time, and I don't know the industry, of course, but is that a growing part of your business?
It is. Even all the different regulations, we kind of keep abreast of what's happening out there because it does affect, for general safety and some of the standards, whether it's the EPA, the CDC, our state, or local, we have to keep in tune with all those regulations so that we, again, know that we can provide analysis and report in such a way that it meets the qualifications,
right.
and people know that their water is safe,
right.
and what's in it.
And so municipalities of all sizes are typical customers. I mean, not small towns need to have a safe water supply just like big towns and cities.
Absolutely.
And is that a kind of a regional thing? I mean, do I drive my water sample over to Midwest Labs, or how does that work?
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of growing because, again, food production facilities have to do it as well. So we do ship containers outside of our state, but most of our business comes from the Nebraska and neighboring states.
Okay.
But it is growing
Yeah.
more and more.
Okay, how about an example of, you mentioned, well, we talked about growers and farmers. What would they use your services for?
So growers, basically about 2007, precision ag took off. And now with all the technology that farmers have, they can literally look at any part of their field and know exactly how to add amendments to that soil and grow and produce crops at rates that we've never seen before.
Wow, that's amazing.
So because of that, our volume of soil testing has gone up tremendously since 2007.
Wow, well, that's, we'll talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of what you do. What I always want to know also from people like yourself is, why are you in this business? What got into your head to be in this business? It's not your everyday business. Not say I'm going to be a school teacher or whatever. It's something a little bit off the beaten path.
No, well, having grown up with it, my father started the company.
Oh, okay.
And we moved here in '75, and because of that growth and what he did on the agricultural side, I always kind of had a fascination with it, and I knew at some point I'd come back to the business. And so I came back in 2005, and I really wanted to make a difference. He started
in 1975?
Here.
And you came back in 2005?
Yes.
You know why I like that? Because I know people, and you probably do too, who, what did they do? They grew up in Daddy's business. And the rest of the staff's looking at them saying, you've never had a job in your life outside of here that your dad didn't give you. But you, I know a little about your background, you're 20 years or so out in other respectable big companies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My dad and I, when I graduated from college, we had this pact, go out, you need to go out and
make your mark.
Exactly. Try to see if you can make it. And so I taught a little, I worked at corporations, and that was a great experience coming back.
You had some brand name employers along the way, so it's not like you worked at the convenience store, biding your time or something.
No, exactly. I picked up so many good skills, again, most of it in supporting a business.
Sure. And so when I go back to the why question, tell me, you grew up with it. Did you have an interest in watching your father? What was his background and watching him grow it and build it?
I did. I really saw that entrepreneur inside of him, and I really wanted. I don't think I realized that I had that, even working at corporate.
Yeah, well, especially working for corporate, because you're in a cubicle.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Follow the orders, follow the routine, and
I wanted a piece of that, and I came back, and I didn't realize how much I wanted a piece of that until the last 5 years when I took over the business, and that's when I really came to me as, hey, this is going to be yours someday, and you need to protect and build on your father's legacy. So it's going to be a family business. Sure. And that entrepreneur spirit is loud, and I didn't realize how loud I grew up in that.
Well, you grew up with it. I mean,
exactly.
and I get that. And I just love that you had the big break from it to make it on your own, so to speak. Mary Tyler Moore, you're going to make it on your own. And I just lost 3/4 of the audience on that one. It's a 70s sitcom, okay? 1970s, yes. Anyway, the point is that you had that inner spark and that drive, and then learned external skills, came back and put it to work, and that's your deep sense of why, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. I think people are my why. People first, and you'll see that in everything that I do, and I've just really carried that mantra, and whether it's employees, whether it's our clients, I want people treated fairly, with respect, with trusted analysis.
Sure.
And that's really what drives me every day.
Well, yeah, and you say people, how big is your staff nowadays?
So in the last 5 years, we've grown from 140 to now we have 218.
Holy cow. I'm not a numbers guy, but that's a pretty good percent.
It is.
About 60, 70 people you've grown in just 5 years?
Right.
And these are mostly the scientists, or what kind of
workers
do you add?
It's mostly scientists because of the large volumes that I was speaking about. On the soil side, we can get anywhere after harvest from, in the 20 years ago, maybe it was 5,000. Today, it's 30 to 40,000 samples a day.
What?
So when you have that
Holy
many
cow.
samples, right? Yeah,
That's
you
a
need
very
more people.
labor-intensive
Exactly.
type of work, isn't it?
Exactly.
Wow. Well, that's I didn't. That's a lot of samples, and that's soup to nuts. That's plant fiber, and that's soil, and that's water, and that's food processing.
That's right. Probably right. Probably our two largest industries are on the ag side, the soil side, and the pet food side. We get about 800 to 1,000 pet food samples a day.
Wow, that's that big an industry, huh?
Right. So it's.
And what's a pet food manufacturer worried about?
Right. So pet food, for most of them, they're sending their final production lots in to be tested and to make sure that they pass all their quality control, so they can take that product and take it to market.
Are there regulations on pet food? I mean, I don't see the food labels and how many percentage of your daily calories are on
Exactly. Well, I would tell people that I think all of us are probably going to be eating pet food in the next 5 to 10 years because it's probably some of the safest food out there. People have seen me go to pet food plants, and I'll take the product right off the line and eat it because I believe it is the safest thing for. It's probably safer than some of our own human food.
Yeah, you made me think of a Shark Tank episode there. I saw some people pitching dog food on the Shark Tank, and then they surprised the sharks by actually eating it themselves. Like, they all, what is he eating it?
Yeah.
We had I can't remember the episode number, but I interviewed Mindy Resnack from Shark Tank. She's the person who screens you whether you go on the show or not. And we went down to Lincoln and shot that episode, and she had some great stories about the Shark Tank, which did not make it onto the show. But I don't know how that ties in everything. But yeah, the whole pet food thing. You've got a quote there. We're all going to be eating pet food. I'm going to be thinking about that one. Well, that's interesting. Well, Brent, the question I have next is simply what differentiates, and we've talked about it a little bit already, what differentiates Midwest Laboratories from other analytical services, other laboratories out there?
That's a great question, and people ask that all the time. It's more about that we're not just about research. We do some research. We have a research and development lab, but we're a production lab. As I talked about,
what lab?
A production.
Production, okay.
Because those heavy volumes, when you get that many soils, when you get that many samples of pet food a day, you've got to have really innovative science, not only to produce the tests, and you've got to have great people in order to produce those, to do those analysis and get the results out in a timely manner so those clients can use that data.
What's the turnaround time typically of most stuff?
Typically, it's about 3 to 5 days for
really?
most things.
Wow. I'm just over. How many samples did you say you get in the fall, in the busy season?
It can be 30 to 40,000, even in a pandemic.
People mail stuff in, drop stuff off, all the above?
Yes. So again, we get quite a few through UPS, FedEx, and we do have a lot of traffic that's just people just come in, drop their samples off.
Wow. And back to the differentiator again, you're saying that your people make a difference, but just the production level, your skill at production, I think is what you're going down.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have, all of our people basically have science backgrounds, and all of them are learning, again, new techniques, new processes, and the technology has to be there.
Well, it changes all the time.
Oh, it does. We're constantly upgrading our information systems. We're looking at new ways to do things. Space. We're actually running out of space too in our current facility. Yeah, we'll
talk about that. You bet. Okay. Well, it sounds like innovation is your middle name over there. You have to stay ahead of the technology. You have the skilled people to help you to do that. And early on, you told us that people are what you're all about, and both the customers and your employees. Yeah. So, and I mean, why do people come to work? I mean, you hired 20, 30 people a year for several years, and these are probably, based on my knowledge of hiring technical and skilled people, not easy to hire, not easy to find, not easy to get on staff. I mean, right. Why do people want to come to work for Midwest Labs?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I talked about the innovative science. I've talked about that we need that trait on the science side, but we also need the dynamic service, and that's really what my father instilled in me, is that you have to be close to the client. And because of that, and because of the rapid growth, we actually added a number of positions on the support side, whether they be account managers or salespeople, marketing, client services. We want a human voice when those people call in.
Excellent. Do you have a person on board to shepherd the process and a contact person? That's huge. I've been making phone calls on certain topics and the holds, the voicemails, it's just awful. And I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'm sure that's the reason for your growth.
It is, and I think it's going to be the differentiator is client service.
And whose idea was that?
You know, it's really, I would say it's a brainchild of my father's, and we've continued to build on that because he really saw the value of that. He really wanted people to have their first experience to be with a person. And that's why today we do not have a board. When you call in, you do not go right to some type of messaging board. It's always a person.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, let's talk about your dad. I mean, what is his background?
So his background was in soil physics and agronomy.
Wow. Okay.
And so he really started on the agricultural side.
He's a science guy himself.
He was soil plant. He did his own analysis. He worked a number of jobs before we came here to Omaha. And at one time, his passion was he always wanted to run his own lab, and he did at many places. But he really wanted the whole thing.
So he could see in his head the need for it, and he knew what it was. I mean, knew what the need was.
Oh, absolutely. And he worked so hard. I mean, I can remember days at home when he would bring reports home and review the analysis and sign off on the reports. And he would bring a stack home every night in those first few years.
How many employees did he have for the first, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, the first couple of years, it was about 5 to 8 employees.
Wow. Yeah.
And we were located at 120th and Center behind Krispy Kreme.
Okay.
And we started in about 5 offices, and within 2 to 3 years, we took over the whole building.
Wow.
So he grew fast.
Yeah.
And then his growth, the way he measured growth was when we moved out west between Skate Days and Oakview here in Omaha.
Okay.
We started with a couple buildings, and by this time last year, we were at 14 buildings.
14 buildings. Are there 14 buildings between Skate Days and Oakview Mall?
14 buildings, 3 blocks.
Wow. That's a lot of putting your coat on and running between buildings.
Yes.
So what's the exciting news and solution to that?
So, well, the exciting news is that all those buildings are full, and we've been looking, and all the people around us know in that neighborhood that we continue to look for buildings, but we kind of had to think bigger.
Yeah.
And actually last year really gave us the opportunity to look at maybe there's something outside of this area that we could move into.
Okay. Tell me about the search. I mean, how does that go? It's a pretty good economy out there. Is it hard to come up with space or not?
We did, we were open during all last year, and we did, we just knew at that time that we were going to have to need more space. And so we thought during the pandemic that some businesses may be closing.
Right.
And there were a couple that we looked at in the beginning, and it just wasn't a right fit. We even thought about building something new, but that gets very expensive.
Right.
And then the property with the Info Group building came along, and
down in Papillion.
Down in Papillion, and that just seemed to be perfect. 176,000 square feet.
Wow.
We could fit all of our buildings inside that building. So, again, when we saw that, it was just like a dream come true.
No more putting your coat on to go to the other building and all that, huh?
No. And we do a lot of that, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Just the time saved, I would think it would be terrific to not have to go between buildings and all that. And so tell me about the growth needs this. You've got more people, more samples, more work. What's it like to turn a call center into a laboratory?
It's that building is huge, and there's no walls. I mean, you can pretty much do everything you want to.
Yeah,
we've never had anything like that. Right. Yeah. I mean, even the buildings we acquired, they had walls. Yeah. There was physical limitations to some of those buildings, but here there isn't. So it's the planning process has been very cool. It's the number one project that I'm working on right now.
Sure, yeah. It's got a zillion and one details, I'm sure, for something like that. Oh, yeah. Well, that's pretty amazing to see that kind of growth. Well, tell me about Papillion. Were they helpful to you?
The Mayor Black was wonderful in working with us.
Shout out to
zoning.
Shout out to David Black. Hi, David. Good job with Midwest Laboratories.
It was fantastic. And the other thing I'll tell you, we've kind of been prepared for this because we're also opening up here soon another lab in Fremont with the Costco plant.
Oh, really?
Costco,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is
We've
that
been-
a chicken plant?
It is
Okay.
the chicken plant.
Wow.
They are putting in their own lab. The last 2 years, we've been planning the process with them, and we will have 20 employees over there come in the next 30 to 60 days.
So they wanted to contract your services on site.
Right. So
Save the transportation part.
right. So they own they
Wow.
own all the assets, and we're going to man it and run it. So
Is this a is this a formula? Might as well throw it out there. I wanted to ask what's next for Midwest Labs, and I mean, I'm smelling a formula here.
You know, Costco has been great to work with as a partner, and it really gave us the innovation that we needed, again, to build and to say we can't build a new lab, and we've had that experience now for the last couple of years to do that.
Okay, well, terrific. I mean, when you nail that, I mean, that's a brand name client, of course. When you nail that, is there any reason to think that you couldn't do that in other locations?
Well, that's right now. Our focus is on that main building.
Yeah.
And
Walk before you run, right? Yeah.
But to your point, it's very tough when you're at 95% capacity in all of your buildings. Bringing
Right.
another
Yeah.
big client on is going
Well,
to be tough.
Oh, I understand. And I mean, hiring is hiring a challenge? I mean,
You know, getting some certain areas it is,
Yeah.
but I think once they see the culture and they experience where we're at today, we're trying to build on that culture.
well,
and
tell me
people
about the
stay
culture.
around.
Tell me about that culture. I want to hear more.
Yeah, so
That's kind of goes to what makes Midwest Laboratories unique.
yeah, as I said, the people are first, and I think we have some of the most innovative and creative minds there.
Okay.
And we're building on that. We're
Right.
listening to everybody at our facility, and we're making decisions quite fast. We made probably 40 years of change, I think, last year.
Say that again?
40 years of change in 45, the first 45 years of the company.
Wow.
The pandemic really taught us a lot.
Yeah.
We had work from home for the first time. We had two
But your
shifts.
scientists can't work from home, can they?
No, but our office people can.
Yeah.
But our science people, then we had 2 shifts because some were teaching at home with their kids,
Sure.
and so we had to take care
yeah.
of that need. So
Wow.
we spread the day out from 5 in the morning to 10 at night.
Well, that certainly sounds like a cultural thing. That if I have a job that I cannot work, I mean, if I have I have a job that I cannot work from home on, and yet I can still work because you juggle times. Well, that tells me that you are, very oriented to the needs of people. Because I mean, it was a big chore for a lot of people to be able to get in there and manage their kids when there's no school and all those kind of things. Yet you guys rose to the occasion.
Yeah, it was safety first. We had to take care of our employees, and then
Right.
one of the neat things I think I got to do is connecting with our employees because it's hard because some are at home, some are different shifts.
Sure.
So I would ask each of our employees, I would say, hey, are you your kid's favorite teacher now? I mean, so I tried, and a lot of our staff were having a hard time becoming their kid's favorite teacher.
Oh, yeah.
But they really had no choice in the matter.
Right.
And they had to start doing that. So we wanted to respect that, and I think we did a great job with that. And again, what it really taught us is if we come together and we're there for our employees, they're going to work just as hard too because they want to be in that environment.
Sure. Well, it's a great story. I started family one man 4 decades ago plus, and grew it some more, and then brought you in who learned some skills from the outside. That's a fantastic story, and then you've blown it up since then. That's even greater. You're getting the new space. That's a tremendous challenge, I'm sure, to convert all that. What lessons have you learned along the way that you can help other entrepreneurs know? What I mean, you learn every day, I know, but tell me what in a nutshell, what things come home to you.
Well, I think you said it best right there. You have to learn every day. I mean, every day I go into the day, what am I going to learn today about, and how can I make a difference? And it really comes down to 3 things for me: people, process, and technology, and people are first.
There you go.
And once you invest in your people and you get the best people, you are going to grow. You're naturally going to grow. So if there's one lesson for entrepreneurs, I'd say invest in your people. That's the way you're going to get the safest, that's the way they're the fastest, and it's going to be more sustainable over time.
Well, that kind of says it all right there, I think, and it speaks, addresses why you have succeeded. I mean, obviously, it's a more complicated world now with testing and all the things that are required, but I think you said it just right there. The growth formula makes all sorts of sense. How do people learn more about Midwest Laboratories?
They can go to our website, midwestlabs.com, and learn more again about the analysis we do. I would invite them to come to our facility. Now, obviously right now we don't give tours, but at some time we think things are going to open up, and we are about people. Again, that's the best way to learn about us is through our people.
It sounds like you have a warm, fuzzy interface with people. It sounds like you do some tours for prospects and things like that, and it sounds like a good idea, a good way to learn more about you. MidwestLaboratories.com, or what is the website?
MidwestLabs.com, yes.
Labs.com, okay. Well, great. Well, Brent, it's been my pleasure to chat with you today, learning some of the inside story about one of Omaha's great success stories, and now Papillion's great success story. Thanks for coming out so much, and we'll talk to you some more.
All right, thank you, Paul.
In the meantime, thanks for joining the program, and we will see you next week or next show, and we are, again, doing a bit of a pivot. We're focused on some authors and books and content, but also still wanting to tell business stories like Brent's. So thanks for joining us. Check out growmedia.com, and we'll see you next time.